Well, thank you, Lyle. Appreciate everybody taking their time out to listen to my nonsense for the morning here. Um, gonna try to keep it, relevant to issues that we're currently dealing with in the market. I think it's going to be we've had a series of challenging years, and this is the year. I think the snow that we've been getting here in some areas is finally proving that yes, we can indeed get precipitation still. I can remember a number of El Nino winters where we've had pretty mild winters and we ended up having some pretty decent crops. So trying to be optimistic, and we don't need a lot of rain to grow a crop. We just need rain at the right time. So it's coming. I got a feeling. So one of the most prevalent issues, I would say, for Western Canada is this kochia resistance piece. Just about every meeting you go to, there's talks about it. Every bit of literature that's coming out. So just gonna kind of touch base. We are seeing a bit of a transition in the trends in the kochia populations. Resistance isn't going away. We know that. But I think we've got some very effective ways of managing it. I wouldn't say this is a weed that I'm, super, super concerned about. We need to manage it effectively and properly, but there's multiple different ways that we can do that. So we are seeing an uptick in group 4 resistance coming. So we've been doing a lot of work with Charles Geddes over the last number of years, and we are seeing, some dicamba resistance showing up, some fluroxypyr resistance showing up, and some cross resistance. So just the plant physiology behind kochia, that's what makes it such a prolific weed. We're getting multiple flushes in a season. The amount of pollen that these plants put off is staggering, and I think that's where we're getting a lot of this cross resistance and stuff from. So how do we get ahead of that? How do we manage it, and how do we prevent it from becoming a bigger issue? Group 14. So, it's no secret. We are the largest Group 14 company in the industry, by a long shot. We don't want to hide behind it. We do know that there has been some Group 14 resistance discovered in West Central Saskatchewan. Um, right now, looking at some of the products, this is the most effective way to control kochia. Now, we don't need to be panicked by it, but we do need to be cognizant and plan accordingly. So they did find group 14 saflufenicil resistance. Now we're early on to that, and in the next slide I'll kind of show some more. But using multiple groups, the PPO foliar applied PPO inhibitors, so typically all your group 14s, do respond a little differently than our soil applied uh, group 14 actives. So we do have ways to kind of get ahead of this. But we do want to see multiple actives going down, especially for the foliar applied products. So there's good news. Yes, we saw some group 14 resistance, but one of the benefits is kochia only has a seed viability of roughly 2 years. So this doesn't have to be a long standing issue. We still have a chance to kind of get ahead of this. This is in a very localized area. Um, let's just try to be cognizant of it and get ahead of it. So Dr. Charles Geddes went back and sampled or tested all of his kochia samples from the last number of years, so all the way from 2018 to 2021. Good news, there was no saflufenicil resistance found in any of those pre-submitted populations. So, let's not panic around it, but let's make sure that we know that it is a possibility. So, why does resistance develop slower for soil applied herbicides? Um, there's a lot less selection pressure. I think a lot of guys are used to seaweed, sprayweed, killweed. You know, glyphosate, your diquats. Basically, once they hit the dirt, they're inactive. We need way lower levels of these soil applied products to get a lethal dose. Unlike a foliar applied product, where you have to hit them with a lethal dose. enough to actually kill the population. Our soil types are the most conducive for soil applied products, like that product is more available in our soil types, higher pHs, lower organic matter. Um, so we're actually getting very high levels of uptake into these plants. We talk about kochia being a prolific pollinator. If we can get control of these weeds before they actually have a chance to set pollen, I think that's 90% of the battle. We've been working with Farming Smarter and some different organizations around patch management, rights of ways, well sites, that kind of stuff. In some of these areas, that's where some of our resistance is coming from. And it's a tumbleweed. So now that spreads across your field or across the neighbor's field. Or so looking at some of this patch management, I think we have some very interesting and effective options. If you look at, you know, resistant to the foliar PPO inhibitors, but we have high levels of control with products like Authority and sulfentrazone. Now, what we're showing, or what Charles Geddes is seeing when it comes to kochia specifically, is we're not seeing as high of a level of control on these resistant populations. So Authority is showing some levels of resistance to these heat resistant plants. Now, if you look at, say, flumioxazine, like Volterra, it's taking way lower levels to get that resistance. So I still think sulfentrazone is a very, very effective option in controlling them. But we do need to be cognizant of, if we do overdo the 14s, we could end up running into some troubles. So a couple things. How do we continue to stay ahead of this? Well, higher rates. Um, when possible, if we can go to higher rates of these actives, we are going to get longer residual and we are going to reduce our selection pressure on these populations. So, encompass that with higher seeding rates, more crop competition. We start layering in a lot of these options, and I think we've got a recipe for getting ahead of this. So, globally, there's been a big uptick in these soil applied herbicides. We're getting a lot of evidence. We're seeing that we're delaying resistance in a lot of areas. So, used in an integrated pest management strategy, I think we have a good opportunity to stay ahead of this. Um, One of the big things, crop rotation. If we can continually rotate our crops, we can keep using a lot of the same tools because we're not doing it every year. So, a couple things that I kind of want to look at is everybody remembers when the pulse market was getting developed in southern Alberta. We didn't have much for options. It was straight IMIs, and we've seen the level of control has kind of diminished. Drought conditions, we're seeing carryover concerns. There's not a lot of acres of pulses that actually get sprayed in crop for a broadleaf now. We've taken that investment and putting it on the front end into soil applied products, getting those pre-emergence down, and we're effectively managing, this kochia. I remember guys used to pick their cleanest fields to try to put peas in. Well, now we have guys that are intentionally planting peas just so they can use Authority. We're seeing summer long control getting ahead of this kochia. So I guess where I see a gap possibly is the lentil market. None of these soil applied products I don't think are at the same level of kochia control as say Authority, and unfortunately there's sensitivity there, so we can't use Authority. But using products like Authority, say that year after your lentils, we are registered on wheat and durum now. Now we can clean up that full population in 1 year. Now we kind of got a clean slate. So I think what I would encourage everybody to look at doing is take that same mentality that we've used on the pulses and bridge it over to the cereal acres in some instances. Now, I'm not saying let's blanket spray every acre every year, because that's not the right thing to do. But everybody's got some salinity areas, or a field that, yeah, okay, we had a heavy kochia pressure, poor crop competition, we can kind of get back to that clean slate so that we're not continuing to have those kochia populations interbreed um, and cause more resistance. So controlling weeds, it starts now. We can go through a few different options here that we have available for the year. I'm not going to dig into it too much, but FMC, we do have a few new actives that are in the pipeline. There'll be a few years out here yet, probably 3 or 4, but we have a new Group 12 that will be hitting the market. Again, it's a pre-emergent soil applied product. Um, so there are options, but let's not lose all the tools in our toolbox. If we can keep all the tools available and use them in conjunction, it's not break the wrench as a hammer, it's keep them all in there. So I'm sure most of you guys have heard this time and time again. Controlling kochia early. I think that's one of our biggest options, or most effective options of getting ahead of this specific weed. So of course, kochia germinates early. 50 growing degree days is when we're seeing germination. Uh, I've been in fields through the winter. Back in December, we still had stuff germinating. We were warm enough that there was volunteers germinating. Saw volunteer lentils. There are some broadleaves. So if anybody did a full burn off, hopefully we can get ahead of that. I know on our farm, that's been probably one of the most important passes that we've made in the last decade. Fields seem to be way cleaner coming into the spring. We're taking a lot of pressure off that spring burn off because we have effectively controlled most of them. If we end up warming up here, looking at the forecast, we're going to see positive digits for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully we continue to get a bunch of snow, but depending on how the spring shakes out, we could have an early head start on kochia. Um, you look May 1st, 2023, a lot of you guys remember, we didn't have much for moisture and we had the heat. So we had stuff germinating very, very early. Um, putting down back to the pre-emergent part, a lot of guys are starting to fall apply. If you look at a product like sulfentrazone, yes, we do need moisture to get it into soil solution and get it activated, but it has the highest solubility of all the major soil applied products. So it is going to require less rain than any of the other products, but it still needs that rain. So if we can get it on early, that would be my piece of advice. We can apply, if the snow melts here, we can apply basically at any time of the year. We have to make sure that the ground's not frozen. We do need a little bit of textured soil so that that product has something to bind to in case we do get, a big snow event or a rain event, that it doesn't just pick up and move. But I think it's if we can get it out early. I know we talk about um, timing. If we could one pass everything, that would be great. But given the challenges that we've dealt with the last number of years, I think getting it applied early is probably more important than anything. So burn off control, some options, some strategies. If we can use multiple modes of action, so I think we have to assume at least low level of glyphosate resistance. We've always kind of assumed that kochia is group 2 resistant, where now we just assume that it's all glyphosate resistance are resistant. I know it's not the case, but we don't know which populations are and aren't. So using that as a strategy is probably an effective way of continuing to stay out of trouble. Um, Cooler conditions. I know we get rolling early in the spring. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's warmer. Um, if you can overlap multiple systemic products to work in those cooler conditions, most of your contacts, heat, aim, any of those, they do like hotter conditions. So the systemics are going to be slower, but I think we're going to see more complete control. Rates. Don't cut rates. Uh, Water volumes. If we're talking about any of the contact products, 10 gallons of water. If you're using 5, I'd advise you get up to 7.5 if you can. If you're 7.5, you go to 10. We're just seeing more consistent control. Surfactants. So if you're looking at the just plant physiology of kochia, it has adapted very, very well to grow where nothing else wants to grow or in conditions that nothing else wants to grow. So one of its defense mechanisms is building a thick, waxy cuticle, retaining moisture through the dry conditions. So surfactants, I know AgroPlus has got a big line of different surfactants. A lot of you guys probably used Interlock. Not sure if you've heard of Masterlock. Same benefits. You get the drift reduction. Plus you also get that extra level of surfactant. So, if it's marginal conditions, these are all things that will help control or give you better control. Sizing. So the smaller the better. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in here. There is a point of being too small. So I'm sure everybody's seen the little kochia when they germinate. They're just little white fuzzy balls, kind of. It's hard to get chemical into those plants when they got those little hairs on there. The water droplets or spray droplets kind of sit on the top of those hairs, and it's hard to get them into the plant. So there is a small side on that as well. So, but generally the smaller the better. Looking at extended weed control products, water volumes. We're not trying to just get a few droplets on a plant and control it systemically. We're trying to put it on a blanket of protection. So keep your water volumes up. We just want good coverage on that soil. It's going to make it more consistent. The nice thing about our products, we don't bind to any green material. We don't bind to any trash. We do have to get soil contact, but as soon as we get a moisture event, it will wash off and get into that soil solution. So the other benefit, looking at some of these products, I know when they first hit the market, there was a lot of uneasiness around, well, what if it doesn't rain? I just spent $15 an acre and I wasted it because we didn't get rain. The products won't break down until we get an activating rain. So they're very photostable. They'll sit there. You're not losing any residual. Your product will start breaking down and you'll get your residual from the time of that activating rain. So as long as weeds haven't rooted below that barrier, we will still see dieback. I've seen 4 to 6 inch tall kochia die back after we've got an activating rain. As long as those lateral roots are still pulling from that chemical layer, we still can see control. So, but again, big takeaway is try to get it down early. Length of extended control matters. So this is what we talk about, those flushing weeds. Again, Authority, we have by far the longest residual on the market for kochia. The picture you see here, it's actually from our Farming Smarter site. And this plot did not change for, I think it was 128 days was the last day I looked at it, and it still looked just as spotless. So, that's no crop competition. We have some opportunities to deal with some of these problems. Product application and seeding disturbance. So again, I kind of mentioned we're putting down a protective blanket. So we don't want to be ripping holes in that. So if you're doing any kind of tillage, generally we say if you're using over a 2-inch opener, you're probably better off to seed and then apply these products post-seed pre-emergent. Depends on the conditions. It's a risk reward thing. Given the drought climates that we have been seeing, I don't know. We run a 3-inch opener on our farm, and we've gone to doing everything pre-plant. Slow down a little bit so we're not throwing dirt everywhere, and we've had really good luck. So it is kind of a little bit of a trade-off, but depending on the issues that you're running into, this may be a good strategy. Now, if we can layer these. So if we get a good extended weed control, we get a solid burn off, we can set up for a good crop year. So some of the options that we have available, we do have a very, very strong pre-herbicide portfolio. I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with DB878. We had a lot of Intruvix go into the market this last year. We're doing away with Intruvix, and it's going to be Intruvix 2. Now back to this piece of resistance management. The only difference between Intruvix and Intruvix 2 is we're going to 30 mils of carfentrazone. So for a lot of you guys on the call, you guys are going to be buying DB878 and AIM. There's programming that I'll get into, but essentially we're making this Intruvix product. Springtime, we have smaller weeds. It might be a little bit overkill. If you know you've got some issues, this would be a top of the line product. For the most part, I think we can just keep splitting these products apart. Save your 878 for in front of your cereal acres and keep the aim, use it in front of your pulse and oil seeds. The one piece would be make sure you're keeping the rate up. We've seen a big transition, growers going all the way to that 30 mil an acre rate, and we are seeing significantly better performance. So new for this year is Authority Strike. Now, if anybody remembers the old Authority Charge, essentially we're bringing it back. So it's just a co-formulation. It's all dry, but it's Authority and AIM all in one. So convenient to use. Again, depending on your setup when you're planning on spraying, this is a very easy product to handle. But I would argue that getting it down early, going with straight Authority to make sure we get guaranteed activation, is probably a more consistent route of going. And then you can come back and do your glyphosate and AIM burn off just prior to seeding in case we do get a bunch of emerged weeds before we get an activating moisture event. So I don't want to dive in too much into numbers, but looking at our trials, we just did bare ground trials in Lethbridge. So kind of giving you a summary of levels of kochia control. Authority has continued to be the king of kochia. All the products on here are giving pretty high levels of control. My one watch out is, again, we don't want to overuse the 14s. I personally look at my farm operation. I don't know how we would get by without it. When you've really got a problem, we know that we can clean up fields with Authority in 1 year. So we've got Focus. That's our primary option in the lentil market. It is a group 15. Rotating some of these groups out. Again, like I said, there is some synergies by tank mixing, even the pre-emergence, but you have to be getting the same levels of control, same lengths of residual between actives to really see that full value. So just kind of some visual. Again, we're seeing summer long control with kochia. So I think everybody's kind of been seeing this in the pulse market. I would challenge people to, how can we position this? And I'm not talking blanket spraying, but how can we position this into our cereal systems? Spend more money up front, put it into your pre-emergent. Now we've taken a lot of that heavy lifting off of the in-crop products. We can save some money, if it's a wet year and we got bumper crops coming, then it's less of an issue. But if we have poor crop competition, we're going to continue to get flushes of weeds. So there's a lot of new Group 27s hitting the market. And I think it's awesome. We've got more tools in our toolbox, and it's something that we should be looking at using in our crop rotations. But they're not a silver bullet. If you get bigger kochia and we get outstaged, we're going to have the same issues. We're not going to get complete levels of control. Again, back to that physiology of the kochia plant. Once they get hardened off that thick waxy cuticle, it doesn't seem to really matter what product we're hitting it with. We just can't get that product into the plants. So this is a way to kind of get ahead of that. So again, not saying don't use the Group 27s, but we can front load and put that investment up front and have clean fields regardless of if we have a great year, great, we'll have more crop competition. If it's a dry year, we're going to have bare spots. Authority has proven to be very effective at giving long-term kochia control. So again, just looking at just a summary of our trials through Farming Smarter, we are seeing very, very high levels. And again, these ratings were taken 42 to 64 days after application. We weren't seeing a drop off at all on the Authority plots all the way out to 4 months. Looking at yield, less crop competition, going to be higher yields. Moisture has been our most limiting factor. It's gold. I'm hoping we get a ton of it this year, but we need to do everything we can to give these poor plants a chance. So we kind of talked about different rates. We've got a very strong value proposition, I think, in the market. So one thing, you look at Proxysulfone, FMC did all the regulatory work in Canada to get this molecule registered, and they worked at a ton of different rates. And we chose our low rate being 50 grams active per acre. There's a lot of benefits to the Group 15s. It's not just broadleaves. We're also picking up grass control as well. So a bigger concern for me actually is wild oat resistance. As we move forward, we've got a lot of multiple groups that are working on kochia. There's a lot of products. As we get into the wild oat market, there's group 1s and group 2s for the most part. Avidex has been reclassified as a group 15. Here's a chance to kind of getting best of both worlds. You do need that higher rate in order to get consistent grass control. So our low rate, we used to be 50 acres or 50 grams an acre. Most guys are going up to this 33 acre rate if we're using focus. Now, again, this could be cereals. We can use it on spring wheat, lentils. We've been using it in the corn market, actually. We're seeing very consistent control. But again, comparing against some of the other rates, it is a very expensive molecule to produce. But I think we're in a good spot just comparing SRPs. The other unique thing that I'll get into at the end is we are paying fairly high levels of rebates on these products as well. With a lot of the competitors, there isn't programming on it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at an economic opportunity. Yeah, tough year. We're looking at spending $20 an acre for pre-emergence. I get it, but I think everybody understands that that's the way the industry has had to go to try to stay ahead of this resistance issues. So again, I get beat up sometimes. Well, we're not quite as good on kochia. I won't say we're way better with focus on kochia. It's definitely no authority, but we're definitely not worse. Okay, switching gears into the pre-burn options. I touched base on Intruvix too a little bit. This is a very, very strong product in the market. Now, if it's a dry year and we don't have a ton of weed pressure, like I said before, it might be overkill. Big fit I see for this product is fall spraying. So if we can get this applied by October 1st, that's our official cutoff date, we can plant all major crops the next year. So the downside of Intruvix 2 is it's all co-formulated now. So there's 4 jugs in a case. We can't really pull it apart like we used to be able to. Before, you'd have a jug of your Express and Dicamba, and then your Carfentrazone, the AIM. This one's all co-formulated. So, working with AgroPlus, they do have the precision pack machines. So to make this product, it's just DB878 and 30 mils of AIM. So all the programming will apply to it. I think it's a great option for the fall. I think it's a little overkill for the spring. So for guys looking to save a little bit of money here, given the uncertainty of the year, commodity prices coming down, I get it. Let's see what we can do to save some money and pinch some pennies where we can, while still effectively managing this resistance. So it's registered on basically all cereal crops. We're either registered or supported. So looking at the label, again, this would be the broadest spectrum broadleaf product on the market. The one downfall here would be no residual. So I know some growers have used Corex. This would be a great product, and we are working on it. So we actually launched a new blend through the Precision Pack machine last year called DB878 Pro. So that would be very comparable to like a Corex. And then if you wanted to throw the Group 14 in, it plays into all the programming. So we could basically just make our own. So you got a lot of flexibility and a lot of options as to how this product can fit your operation. One of the nice things, I've spent a lot of my career selling systemics. They're slow. Some guys like seeing that immediate response. By having the Carfentrazone in here, we are seeing a significantly faster burn down. Now, not to knock any of the products that don't have the contacts in there. Once those weeds get hit, it just takes them a long time to dry down. They're not pulling up any more nutrients. They're not wasting any water. It's just a slow dry down time. But this does help give higher levels of control. I was a little concerned by putting carfentrazone in with some of our systemics that we were going to see a trade-off. Yeah, faster burn down, but maybe more incomplete control. And all of our trials have shown that that's not the case. FMC's tried to look at AIM in the desiccant market. I will fully concede that market. If you've got weeds and you want some dry down and weed control, I think using a product like Heat, Saflufenicil, I think that's a better fit for it. But I think carfentrazone added in with these blends is going to give you better, more consistent weed control. We're not going to burn down as fast, but we're not impeding the ability of the systemics to translocate within these weed populations. Kind of just comparing, Intruvix versus Intruvix 2. We did feel this was the right option for the market. That higher rate of aim, we are seeing a benefit, and we want to practice what we preach. We're talking go higher rates, use more actives. We got a lot of feedback from the market, and we went with it. Looking at I kind of talked about some of these other contact products. We're seeing a lot more consistent performance, specifically on kochia, buckwheat, smaller populations. Now, in this trial that we did, there was no setup. These were large weeds. Typically you're not going to spray them that big, but everybody gets behind. It's Southern Alberta. It's time to spray, and all of a sudden the wind blows for a week. So I do think that this is a very consistent option for guys. So we talked about the group 14 resistance. I want to talk about the group 4 resistance. So Charles Geddes, and I can't remember the name of his the researcher that's in North Dakota that he's working with, but they've been doing some interesting research. So with these group 4 resistant kochia populations, we're seeing some interesting things. So they've been working with dicamba and fluroxapyr. So not to make this chart too confusing, the left side is showing non-group 4 resistant kochia populations. So our standard population, what we've been dealing with. So all that chart is showing is that this is straight fluroxapyr. The bottom would be straight dicamba, and these are just different rates or different blends between, mostly dicamba, some fluroxapyr. Here's 50-50. Here's mostly fluroxapyr and some dicamba. So we're not seeing a big deviation away from this median line, basically meaning that there's not really a synergy. Now, what Charles Geddes has found is that by combining fluroxapyr and dicamba on these resistant populations, we are seeing a large additive effect of putting these two products together, which is a good sign. And they're not sure why, but whatever mechanism in that plant that is causing this resistance, we are able to overcome it by using dicamba and fluroxapyr together. The interesting part is I'm going to talk about DB6654 here in a minute. This is our actual rates of what we're using for it. So we're overcoming that resistance. So could be an option moving forward here. So DB6654, this is a blend that we used to have through our machines. We didn't sell a lot of it. We worked hard in Southern Alberta to try to get this supported to be sold with Perimeter. For any of you that have used the Precision Pack products, PP 2525 and Perimeter makes Barricade. This is essentially PP 2525 with the Perimeter, so Barricade with an ounce of Banville. So we're seeing significantly larger kochia controlled and more consistently with by throwing in the dicamba. It's going to cost you about $1 an acre more. But with all our broadleaf products, we still have our Phenoxy program where we're willing to chip in $1 an acre for 2,4-D as well. So, the nice part about this is the group 2s are probably the broadest spectrum broadleaf on the market. And, your winter annuals, if you got hawksbeard, a lot of those hard to kill weeds, big buckwheat, the group 2s are still effective. We've got a half-life of 4 to 5 days in our soils with these products, so there's no stacking concerns. We don't want to spray them alone though. So there's not a disadvantage to using them, but we need to make sure we have other products in there as well. I'm sure a lot of guys have sprayed like Enforcer. Well, we're throwing Boost in it in a lot of cases. We're putting that group 2 in because it just rounds out everything. So if this is something you guys are interested in, talk to your dealers, whoever at AgroPlus, and we can get you a little bit more information. But this is new for us. So we've had it for a while. We pulled it away. Now we can sell it with the fluroxapyr, the perimeter, and still get all the discounts. So if you do have a field where you think you need a little bit more, this is going to be a great value. Barricade, we still sell more Barricade every year. We're not having issues. Throw the 240 in with it, just cause it's going to give you a little more consistent performance. But it's kind of a value-based product now, the Bactril M of the world, if you will. So if we look at spending money upfront with like an authority, well, we can take kosher right out of the equation and go with some of these cheaper options in crop. So.
Any questions on that one before we move on? It's been pretty quiet in here so far.
The one downfall of any of your dicamba-based products, well, here's the 6654. Dicamba can cause some antagonism with graminicides, so we're limited by what we can spray. So we will support this 6654 with any clinidinifop, any pinoxidin, or Traxos. So kind of in summary, we do want to limit applications of single mode of action. Anytime we can tank mix, generally speaking, is going to be better for this resistance piece. Make sure we're using effective modes of action for the tank mix. So, if we're using multiple groups, but they're not controlling the same spectrum of weeds, that resistance management piece doesn't really apply. Limit use of the same herbicide or tank mix repeatedly. So again, I'm encouraging guys to look at treating some of their problem cereal acres, but we don't want to be putting authority down year after year after year. So, use it wisely. I guess the one thing that I didn't talk about is the watch out with authority in the cereal market is it's a 2-year recrop to lentils. So make sure you guys are cognizant of that. Like I said, where I've been utilizing it is we're putting it on our lentil stubble. So that year after lentils, putting Derm in, putting authority, any extra weeds that we had get through on the lentils, well, now we clean that seed bank up in 1 year again. Target zero weed seed return to the soil seed bank. So again, different ways of looking at this. So, by using a pre-emergent, we're going to get all those flushes. If that's not a strategy you're looking at doing, maybe multiple passes. You've got some kochia patches. I know everybody gets tired of sitting in the sprayer after the entire season, but we can look at going back and double spraying some of these salinity areas, just keeping that seed bank down, mowing or swathing some of these patches before that seed is viable. Anything we can do to take that problem away from being a problem for the next year. And then kind of the whole point was implement herbicide layering. So just quickly, so we talked about some products. I wanted to run you through the programming. Everybody wants to save some money. We have a really strong program. I don't want anybody farming programs, but we've got a lot of tools that we can layer together and it becomes quite economical. So very simple program. Whatever purchase level you fall into, every product builds your level. We are paying out 2 to 8% on the pre-emergence. We're paying out 6 to 15% on the post, and then we have another tier. Once you hit the 130,000, it's 17%. So we're paying out on everything, but say AIM and Express brands on their own, and insecticides. Now, one thing to note, we talked about Intruvix. So say you're buying DB878 and AIM, technically you bought Intruvix. Doesn't have to go in the same tank. It will count as Intruvix, so you will get rebated off the SRP of Intruvix if you bought both of those products. New for this year, we have introduced a proactive bonus. So again, it's to try to encourage some of this herbicide layering. So if you purchase Focus, Authority Supreme, Authority Strike, or Intruvix, a lot of these multi-modes or pre-emergent products, and you purchase any in-crop product from us, we'll give you $1 an acre matching bonus on any of the matching acres. Next, we have our ACE program. So we've ran this the last number of years, kind of talked about this. So if you're buying DB878 and AIM to say make Intruvix, you're going to save $225 an acre based on the 15 mil rate on any of those matching acres. And as of last week, we just got it approved that Authority now counts towards this ACE program. So anybody buying AIM and Authority, you will automatically save $225 an acre on your AIM and Authority matching acres. Now you can still buy, say, 878 and AIM or Express Pro and AIM, any of those products. We're going to double count the AIM, if that makes sense. So you could buy 1,000 acres of Authority, you could buy 1,000 acres of AIM, and you could buy 1,000 acres of DB878, and you're actually going to get $450 an acre back. So we can double count that AIM. That AIM will match up with 2 products. Does that make sense? So it makes it quite lucrative. I know a lot of you guys are using these products anyways. So if you don't really do anything different, you're going to be saving significantly more money this year than you did last year even. So any questions, comments?
Don't be shy, guys. You can speak away or ask a question in the Q&A if you don't want to talk. Hopefully it's not nap time out there.
Everybody's just staying warm, having coffee.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. I would expect, given the levels of kochia we had last year and the volume of tumbleweeds that are out there now, we're going to have a pretty significant kochia seed bank going into this spring.
Don't panic. Like I said, typically, well, it's 2 to 3 years, but the majority of kochia seed viability is only 2 years. So hit it hard, get ahead of it. You know, I'm not sure if the drought conditions are a good time to be increasing seeding rates for crop competition, but
Yeah, that can be kind of a mixed bag. I do have some guys that do drop their seeding rate on dryland barley down significantly, especially to the north around Carmangay area. But results can be kind of hit or miss. If you do get a lot of wet conditions, it can cause a lot of tillering, and then you end up with an uneven crop.
yeah.
All right, last chance for questions. Nothing? Okay, well then I will stop the recording before we move on to the giveaway here.